Gamescom is upon us very, very soon, and we know some big games that are going to be there. Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Monster Hunter Wilds, Civilization 7, quite a few more different bits and bobs. However, it would not be event video game season without some leaks, rumors, and things that are hopefully going to be announced at the showcase that various leaked bits of info are pointing directly at. The first one is the Soul Reaver 25th Anniversary Edition, whether that's a remaster, a remake, something regarding Soul Reaver, for the love of God, has to be at Gamescom, because this has been teased both officially and unofficially for quite some time. Now, there are various parts to this, and the first thing I want to point out is that Soul Reaver's 25th anniversary, obviously the game was originally on PlayStation 1, is the 6th, or was the 16th of August, coming out back in the late 90s, one of the most beloved games of all time, and something that quite a lot of people have been asking for a follow-up for quite some time. Even Legacy of Kain Dead Sun was in development for quite a while. That game was cancelled. However, right now, Crystal Dynamics seem to be doing quite a lot to revive the IP. And like I said, the 25th anniversary has come and gone. They didn't do anything then. But there is a prequel comic currently in production. There is a Soul Reaver and Blood Omen 1, Legacy of Kain Blood Omen 1, combo release cartridge release for the Evercade handheld console, which felt like it jumped the gun. It felt like that should have been something that came after the console releases were mentioned. But that's officially been announced anyway. But the biggest smoking gun is a statue for Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2, a combo remaster, seen at San Diego Comic-Con, which was then pulled off the display once it became talked about online. And apparently, me and Josh did a video on this, but people who were there at the event inquired as to what was going on, and they were told they couldn't have any follow-up information, but the statue would be available soon. So again, it lines up with something like it would have been, I would have assumed, the anniversary, but now it seems like it's going to be Gamescom. And also, Crystal Dynamics put out a Soul Reaver questionnaire a couple of years ago, a survey saying, do people still care about the IP? What do you want to see from it? Characters you want to play as, thematics that you enjoy, etc. And they had over 100,000 responses to that, including me, because I was like, look, let me just scream about this franchise from the top of the rooftops and my lungs combined. And then they followed up on that, saying that they heard fans loud and clear. So whatever these plans are, they've been in the works for at least a couple of years. There's so much you could do with Legacy of Kain, and I feel like one of those things has to be a remaster, a reskin, an overhaul or something in regards to the original Soul Reaver, and just getting it back out there, and then maybe working towards a whole new game. The next thing down is a Bully remaster. This is one of the most recent additions to my list of notes for the showcase going in. Is Bully being remastered for new consoles. This is likely to be announced imminently. That might happen before Gamescom. But this comes from Gamatsu, noticing that the game a remaster of Bully was recently rated in Taiwan for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. So it's on the way. Like I said, this thing is breaking imminently, and maybe we'll get a trailer. It feels like the kind of thing that someone like Jeff Keighley, when he does, he likes to do his big announcements, his big hype drops, etc. It feels like something that he would get out there and just say, none of you guys saw this coming, and then we just cut to the Rockstar logo. And as much as people would then expect to be GTA 6, it's Bully on new systems. Now, there is already the Scholarship Edition of the game that was released after the PlayStation 2 version, so it's probably going to be something like that. However, that version of the game is available on backwards compatibility over on the Xbox, so it might just be the case of getting the game more widely available on, do a PS5 version, but it's largely just an upscaled one of the Scholarship Edition, better frame rates, better resolution, stuff like that. Kind of what they did with Red Dead Redemption 1, which also leaked overseas on, I think it was a South Korean ratings board, before then dropping over here. So if you see the Rockstar logo, mitigate your excitement. Chances are it's the Bully remaster, but I effing love that period of Rockstar, and Bully and the Warriors are two of my absolute favorite games of all time. So I think we'll see that. Number 3 is the return of Deadpool and Marvel Ultimate Alliance being back on sale again. This is the sort of thing that I think, if we get a reveal trailer for this, it'll end on, and they're available right now. Now, a lot has been talked about these games over the years, but most recently, Xbox Era's Nick Baker reported that Microsoft are in talks, assuming to do with Marvel, with Disney, with various figureheads, to bring back the 2013 Deadpool game and the 2006 Marvel Ultimate Alliance game and just make them available again. If you're a fan of these titles and you followed them across the 2010s, you know that these games were made available and delisted multiple times across the 2010s. The Deadpool game, first releasing in 2013, was then relisted after the Deadpool movie, because obviously there's a reason to make that thing available again. The movie blew up so much. And then it was delisted in 2017. However, there wasn't much clarification on why that was, other than just licensing issues. So whether that's a voice acting thing or songs that are in the game or whatever. But still, the Deadpool game is beloved enough as a bit of a cult classic. Is the kind of thing that has a reputation, or has a positive reputation, just because of how unavailable it is. And people will know, who keep up with the secondhand market, the pre-owned market, that this is one of the most valuable, sought-after, rare titles of the Xbox 360, PS3 era, just because it is not available anywhere. And the same kind of thing happened with Ultimate Alliance. That game was relisted as a remaster. It did get slight upgrades and improvements, only to be delisted again across the 2010s. Back in 2018, Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2. I would say, gaming royalty in regards to Marvel properties. Ultimate Alliance 1 absolutely rules, as do the X-Men Legends games, and they're just not available. People end up turning to piracy and downloading emulators, etc., just to get their hands on some of the best Marvel games of all time. And following the success of Deadpool Wolverine, one of the only positively received Marvel things in quite some time, it feels like, why not make these games available again? If it's a bit of money for some licensing deals or whatever it is, then we know that they have 70 billion in the back pocket when it comes to Microsoft to purchase something like Call of Duty. So maybe somewhere down the line we can get Deadpool and Ultimate Alliance back again, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's at Gamescom. The next thing down is Forza Horizon and Starfield going to PlayStation. Now this comes from various leakers over the last few months, following up on Xbox already putting the likes of Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, Pentiment, over on PlayStation, the idea of Xbox becoming more cross-platform when it came to former exclusives. And the next thing that came from that was the idea of another major franchise making the leap across. Now, they said this comes from multiple various sources. This comes from various sources, but mainly a combo of Xstasis and Shinobi 602, both in the leaker game, veterans when it comes to revealing information early, saying that we have specific teasers towards Forza Horizon 5. However, Starfield is in that conversation as well, and that game recently received a major update in June, adding things, quality of life improvements, I would call them, maps to the game so you know where the hell you are, or better detailed maps anyway when it comes to cityscapes and things like that. Like I said, back in June, and something like Starfield, it feels like it's maybe the most in need of a cross-platform injection when it comes to life around that game. Now, I loved Starfield. Me and Josh talked about it a lot on the podcast, which you should go subscribe to. But clearly that game was received quite negatively overall. It was quite disappointing for a lot of people just how much it was slavishly devoted to the Bethesda of old, and was largely in need of modding to sort of bring it up to speed, which then saw even the modding community say this game's too boring and we're not going to bother. So maybe putting it over on a different system, we will give it the life that it arguably deserves. Still, in regards to cross-platform stuff, Sea of Thieves did extremely well. It was sitting at the top of the PlayStation Store for a good couple of weeks after it was announced, after it was released on PlayStation. And another game in this conversation is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is currently being advertised as an Xbox exclusive. Obviously, it's a big major get, for machine games to be able to do an Indiana Jones game, regardless of the popularity of the IP right now after the last movie just bombed. But there is potential that Indiana Jones also makes its way across. So if we get an Indiana Jones trailer, the game is confirmed to be at Gamescom in some fashion. If that ends on all the logos on the bottom of the screen showing a PlayStation logo as well, then that might subtly be a way to say, hey, by the way, this thing's going cross-platform. The last game, the last announcement, the biggest thing and the craziest thing is Half-Life 3 being announced, being confirmed, being officially mentioned. Now, there's a lot to this. Overall, me and Josh already did a video on this. And obviously, Half-Life 3, it's the most mythical game, a sequel in gaming history. Like, there are The Last Guardians, the Final Fantasy VII remix, things that eventually came true over time, Shenmue 3. However, there are a couple of things to the idea of Half-Life 3 finally being real. One is a leak at the start of August, had a voice actor's resume mentioning that they worked on Project White Sands, with White Sands as a location being where Black Mesa is inside the Half-Life lore, which made a lot of fans sort of prick up and go, what's this project that this person's working on? And secondly, and more recently, Redditor Turbulent Life 5218, like I said over on Reddit, noticed that Half-Life 2 on Steam just received an update for a test branch. Now, a branch on Steam just means like a general update to the client for the game. It can be something like a beta, or it can just be a general term for something is being done that is new content for this game. And that might be absolutely minuscule, but the timing is very spot on here. Because like I said, like they mentioned, Half-Life 2 has just received a test branch, and Half-Life 1 did the exact same thing for its 25th anniversary in 2023. So the assumption is that we're maybe getting a Half-Life 2 anniversary edition, something like that, because Half-Life 2 is 20 years old in November 16th. However, and this is spoilers for Half-Life Alyx, the way that Alyx ends retcons the end of Half-Life 2's episodic content to ostensibly gear straight up for a Half-Life 3. Now, obviously, the game was only available on PC, and even then, you had to have a Vive, the VR headset to be able to play it. So this information didn't feel like it really did the rounds as much as it would have done if it was on consoles. But suffice it to say, people have been waiting for a Half-Life update for quite some time. And as we round the bend towards the 20th anniversary of Half-Life 2, I wouldn't be surprised if that version of Half-Life 2 includes some sort of content that then more meaningfully goes in to Half-Life 3. Maybe you do a definitive edition that bundles in the episode 1 and 2, and then do some sort of in-engine content, Half-Life 2 engine, that goes into Half-Life 3. The thing I'll put alongside that is that in June, there was a report released that showed Valve's employee numbers, and they have a shockingly small amount of people work at Valve. They're a very tight-knit community over there, a very specific studio with a very specific work mandate when it comes to why we put certain titles out, and we can take our time on things. The average salary is pretty damn high over there. Valve notoriously being a studio that takes their damn time. And it feels like, because internally they can pick and choose their projects. They can choose what they want to work on for as long as they want. They can move between different things. CEO Gabe Newell is not rushing things out the door, as is clear by how long Half-Life 3 has taken. But if there's one studio that can take the time to do this right, do right by the fans, and continue the momentum that was set in motion by Half-Life Alyx, it's Valve. And so it feels like overall Gamescom is the perfect place to reveal all this stuff. And as much as all these announcements would be awesome, I just want new Soul Reaver. Just give me the remasters, give me access to those titles. Fingers crossed, everyone, and enjoy the show.